Kirk, David, and Patrick have to get their credential to be an executive, Coach Wooden wrote his master's thesis titled How to Teach Poetry. Coach Wooden, he had his poets, Shakespeare, Tennyson, Longfellow, Frost, Daly. I've got mine, Jerry Garcia, Bob Dylan, Neil Young. And it was incredible because I challenged Coach Wooden on every front. I was his easiest recruit. I was his worst nightmare. And I took years off his life, driving the old guy to an early grave at 99. And I always wanted to know why we're in Vietnam, why we have Nixon for a president, why I have to cut my hair, why I have to shave, why do I have to wear a suit, why can't the cheerleaders be in my hotel room on the road trips? And he would just shake his head. And he would always say, Walton, you're the slowest learner I've ever had. But Coach Wooden, who had his foundational pillars, the pyramid of success, the 7-point creed, the 2 sets of 3, the endless maxim, the tools to overcoming adversity. That pyramid of success, he spent 14 years working on this pyramid of success. A tool, a building block, a foundation that has 15 words in it. And so when he would say, Walton, you're the slowest learner I've ever had, I would jump right back in his face and say, come on, coach. You call me a slow learner? It took you 14 years to put 15 words together. Let's pick the pace up a little bit here. But he was a remarkable human being on every single front. We had no idea, because every coach I ever had as a child, every teacher was a John Wooden disciple. That was the influence that he had on our whole community and world. Every English teacher, every history teacher, they were all studying John Wooden's teaching methods and techniques, the 4 laws of learning: demonstration, imitation, correction, and repetition. The human attributes and personal characteristics embodied in the pyramid of success: industriousness, enthusiasm, friendship, loyalty, cooperation, intentness, initiative, alertness, self-control, physical fitness, skill development, commitment to the team, poise, confidence, competitive, greatness, flanked by the 2 external words, faith and patience. And then the 7-point creed: make each day your masterpiece, drink deeply from all sources of knowledge, make friendship a fine art, prepare for the tough times that are sure to come. And then a few others that I can't remember, but I have no memory. And then the 2 sets of 3s. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. Don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. That covers a lot of ground. And if Lance Armstrong would have only followed those rules, we'd all be a lot better off. And then the endless maxims. The maxims that he came up with, that he borrowed from others. And don't ever think that just because somebody else said something that you can't say it yourself. That's the way life works. That's how you build. You have a team, and we're all on the same squad. Bob Dylan was recently criticized for taking other people's material and making them into his songs. Well, that's the way it goes in the life of creators, of artists, of dreamers, of visionaries. And I remember when John Lennon was getting going, and they were starting to ask him about his life as a child and how it shaped out for him. And John, when he was just a young boy and just getting started in school, his mom kept emphasizing to him that the purpose of life, the goal in life, the journey in life is to be happy. And so John is in kindergarten, and the kindergarten teacher said, okay, the homework assignment tonight is to go home and write an assignment on your journey, your purpose, your meaning in your life. And so John goes home and writes in 1 sentence, my journey, purpose, and meaning in life is to be happy. Comes back in, turns the assignment in. The teacher says, John, you don't understand the assignment. John turned back to his kindergarten teacher and said, you don't understand life. And so when John Wooden kept coming up with these maxims, be quick but don't hurry. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Happiness begins when selfishness ends. Never mistake activity for achievement. The worst things you can do for the ones you love are the things they could and should do for themselves. When everybody thinks alike, nobody thinks. And we're scratching our head. What is this silly old man talking about? Will he please tell us about how to do a hook shot? Will he please talk to us about how to do a drop step or how to execute on the 3-on-2 fast break conditioner drill? But no, he just kept right on coming, constantly. And the mantra that he always would fall back on, because there was one that he had for every different occasion, including the one that he wrote for me on the day I graduated. To Bill Walton, it's the things you learn after you know it all that count. But the one that he kept falling back to, his foundation one himself, his core. Basketball, like life, is not a game of size and strength. It's a game of skill, timing, and position. It's not how big you are, it's how big you play. It's not how high you jump, it's where you are and when you jump. And so, when he's rattling this off, I'm scratching my head. Not fine, thanks. I'm scratching my head saying, this doesn't make any sense at all. Why? Why do you say these things? How can you say that it's not a game of size and strength? Kareem has all the records, Shaq has all the money, and Wilt has 20,000 girlfriends. What's up with that? and he says, well, you're the slowest learner ever. Please, don't you realize it's not about stuff? It's not about material accumulation. Coach Wooden, he taught us how to think. He taught us how to dream, he taught us how to build, and he taught us how to compete. But he always did that in the framework of the tools to overcome the adversity. The adversity that he knew would be there. Now, it was remarkable because we grew up in such a positive world. The sense, Southern California in the 50s and the 60s, that anything was possible. And one of the saddest things to me is when we go around the world, a world driven by selfishness and greed today. A world where they're constantly selling fear and junk and trash and speed and all this stuff that tears you down as opposed to build you up. And that's what this whole tour is about. That's what the Pac-12 is about. That's what ESPN is about in terms of promoting the positive values that you guys are going to need to carry us to what's next. Coach Wooden always talked about the motivation, what it is that's going to drive you, what it is that's going to keep you awake at night, get you up before the dawn, to work hard, which is a constant. More importantly, what's going to make you work smarter, because that's the ultimate challenge. You'll hear too much about it. Work hard, work hard. Everybody works hard. Is there anybody here who doesn't know? Or is there anybody here who knows somebody who doesn't work hard? You know a few? Man.
My classes. You love them.
Really?
Some of them, yeah.
It just takes some people a little longer to get them. Think how long it took Rasheed Wallace to get it. And then, the two most important, I scared him away. Oh my gosh, sorry.
People have class.
Class, I thought this was class. Sorry, Kevin. And so, thanks for coming. And so, what time is it?
Actually, it's 10:45. We're going to go to, I think, about 11:15. And let's use this as a segue.
Okay.
I had some other questions, but what he had to say is more important. So
that's not true.
Yeah, you actually, no, you answered some of the things I was going to ask about. But what I'd like to do, I have the microphone here, is for about the next 30 minutes, I'd like to take some questions from the audience for you. And then about 11:15, I have to go teach a class, but then he's going to be available to talk with you personally.
I will stay as long as you want.
So who has a question?
The game's not here until 7 o'clock tonight.
If you'll share your name and...
Kirk, it's 7 o'clock tonight, right?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, here we go. Ball's in the air, the fate of the known world in the balance. Here we go.
All right, Bill, over here. We got a young man.
Which of these cats are going to climb the tree the highest? Here we go.
Mr. Walton?
Yes.
I'm Blake.
My name is Bill. Mr. Walton is not here.
Okay.
We love the red hair too, Blake.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're one of the chosen few. Stand tall and proud, walk like a giant.
Mr. Walton, Bill, looking at this day and age, how do you think social media has affected the NBA?
It's fantastic.
Twitter, Facebook, fantastic. How so? Like,
it gives everybody a voice, and it keeps people to a higher standard. Because in the straight media, in the mainstream media, it's too much sucking up. It's too much, oh, here's your press release, I'll just read this. Where's the challenge? Where's the question? Where are the people who are saying, what's going on with steroids? What's going on with the financial crisis? This is unacceptable. And what went down in the British hacking scandal, man, oh, sure, we report it, then we just move on to what's next. And the failure, the lack of accountability, and the great thing about social media is that it's empowering, that it inspires, it presents an opportunity, a platform to make your case and to stand tall. So it's allowing, instead of just having rich people buying their own media companies, it allows you to be your own media company. And so as journalists, your idea, your goal, your challenge is to create content. Something that's interesting to read or watch or listen to, that will provoke conversation, inspire action. Anybody here who's not familiar with change.org? If you ever think for a moment that you're too small or insignificant to make a difference, you have never spent the night in bed with a mosquito. Or you have not met that high school girl down in Mississippi who, through change.org, has gotten Pepsi and Gatorade, one of the giant, most powerful companies in the world. Not powerful enough to get Beyonce to take a sip of a Pepsi during the show at halftime, but still incredibly successful, hugely popular and powerful and rich. And this high school girl from Mississippi got them to change their formula because of the junk that they were putting in their product that they're trying to sell to you as this is cool. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Now, great question, great answer.
Follow up.
To add on to that, what are the negatives of social media as you see from some players when they're posting social media?
Well, there's always negatives. There's always the negatives of not having the filter and not having the experience. But one of the biggest problems that we have is that we're afraid. We're afraid to stand tall. We're afraid to say what we think because we're afraid that somebody else might come back and criticize, challenge. And that's why it's incredibly important to be accurate in what you say and think it through, test it out on somebody, test it out on the cab driver, test it out on the shopping store clerk, test it out on your friends before you put it out there. Because it's great that you challenge. And just think of this whole steroid scourge that is ruining sports and is part and parcel of the gambling scandal that's taken down soccer on an international level. At the end of the line, you have your own life, you have your health, which is everything. Without your health, nothing is possible. With it, you can do anything. But after your health, what do you really have? You have your credibility and your integrity. So that you can look at your friends, you can look at strangers. More importantly, you can stand in front of that mirror when you're all by yourself. And that's where the second tier of the pyramid of success comes into play. Think of the pyramid as 5 levels. The first 3 levels are preparation, the top 2 are performance. The middle level of the preparation tier, intentness, initiative, alertness, self-control. Discipline yourself so that others won't have to. That's where it comes into play when you're all by yourself. It's easy when you're in the classroom. It's easy when you got a team around you. It's easy when you're in a group dynamic. But when you're all by yourself, you're in your hotel room at night, you're in your dorm room, wherever you are, and it's just you. And that's where you really find out the hardest questions. And that's why when you make these statements, think them through before you say them. You know, it's okay if you practice in the shower. It's okay if you practice with your buddies who don't care if you make a mistake. But when you're going to put it out there as media, then you better be right. But Lance Armstrong, he made himself fraudulently very rich and very famous by lying, cheating, stealing, and bullying. That is exactly the same thing that Bernie Madoff did. Stepping on people to make himself famous. Bernie Madoff's going to spend the rest of his life, rightfully so, in jail. There has to be more accountability, there has to be more consequences and repercussions for Lance Armstrong than just going on Oprah Winfrey. And where's the outrage? where's the people saying, this can't stand? And that's why we got to stand tall, walk like a giant. Did that answer your question? What was your question? I'm sorry.
One last thing.
Yeah, fine.
So with that all being said, is the accountability, do you think the NBA should punish other NFL, NHL, and things like that, MLB, should they punish the players more when they make outlandish Twitter posts and stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Because the NBA, University of Arizona, ESPN, they are providing the platform that gives us the visibility, the notoriety, and the standing in our culture. And when we make mistakes, we have to be held accountable. And that will make us think more. And the fines should be in perspective and related to the act, but also their position. And so when people make homophobic statements, when people make racial statements that are inappropriate and inaccurate, then it should be hard. Now, if some kook wants to go out there on his own and make those statements, but if Kobe goes out there and makes them, that's a different situation. Kobe is rich and famous because of the NBA. And I have that nice bus out there because of the Pac-12 and ESPN. So I have to monitor myself and put a filter on when I come into situations like this. And your filter is incredibly important. But don't be afraid. And stand tall. And we are so lucky in our country because a lot of great things can still happen and do continue to happen. And your job is to search out the positive direction of the world. And there's plenty of chance, believe me, to get sucked down into the vortex of negativity and cynicism and bitterness, and greed and selfishness. But spend your time on change.org. Go to ESPN.com, Pac12.org, and all these different great websites. And look what the Pac-12 is trying to do. I mean, it's taken the greatest demographics in the world. Is there anybody here who knows? What?
Can I ask you about something?
One thought.
Okay.
Is there anybody here that knows anybody that says, I can't wait to move to the Midwest? I can't wait to move to the South. No, people want to come to Arizona. People want to come to California and Oregon and Utah and Colorado and Oregon and Washington. This is where the cool people are. That's why we're all here. Come on. And so ride that tsunami. It's just such a fantastic deal for you. And I was so lucky. My heroes as a child. Check them out if you don't know their stories. Bill Russell, Go Up for Glory, the first sports book I ever read. Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. Go to his museum in Louisville. It'll blow your mind. You'll look at all these current sports guys and you say, these guys are frauds. This guy, Muhammad Ali, was a champion of the people of the world in everything he ever did. You're staggered. If people like Wilt and Oscar and Muhammad Ali, if they lived in today's world, they'd each have their own channel on ESPN. And so, then go read about what Sergeant Shriver did, what Martin Luther King did, what Bobby Kennedy did. When Bobby Kennedy, there's this great picture of Bobby standing there. And he's in a suit, he's in a shirt, his coat is off, he's got his tie on, and he's standing there. He's standing there with the coal miners, the guys who were going underground, spending their life in the dark and the cold and the damp, and killing themselves breathing that air down there. And Bobby's there trying to make a better life for these guys. And the caption underneath this picture, I'm surrounded by all these guys just covered with soot. And the caption is, it's okay to care. It's okay to care. And one of our jobs is to inspire you to care. And just think for a moment of what John Wooden did with his pyramid of success and where he put the word loyalty. The two driving emotions of my life are pride and loyalty. Pride, the satisfaction with my choices. Loyalty, the human attribute that enables people like you and me to do extraordinary things because we care. And that's why I'm here. 6 years ago, my life fell apart. I had everything. The best of everything. And then my spine failed. My spine failed with a whole lot of factors going in, bad foundation, bad feet, bad knee, tons of falls and everything, horrible life of being on these airplanes that I can't fit in, hotels I can't stand up in, furniture built for preschool children out there. And my spine just failed. And I lost everything. I lost my job, I lost my health insurance, I lost my dignity, I lost my self-respect, and now I'm starting back up again. But loyalty, where did John Wooden put the word loyalty? To see Jim Rosborough come out and meet my bus out there, that's loyalty. Jim Rosborough, who's always been there, not just for the U of A, not just for the state of Arizona, not just for our child Luke, but for every one of you guys. Someone who, like Rocky, who gave up his life so that other people's dreams can come true. Loyalty. John Wooden put that right in the middle, right in the bottom of the foundation. You pull that out and everything else just implodes. But don't ever discount all the other words too. Industriousness, enthusiasm. The cornerstones. You pull those away and the sand just runs out. Industriousness and enthusiasm. Do you love what you're doing? And are you willing to work? Chase your dream. Build your life. Make your job your dream. And then everything's just a lot better. Now, what was your question, Kevin? I'm sorry.
I wanted you to clarify what might sound like a contradiction based on this young man's question.
Yes.
On one hand, you were talking about how when professional players, for instance, or even university athletes make statements that cause management to scratch their head or groan,
Right.
they come down on them. But speaking as a sports journalist, sometimes that creates walls where it's hard for the athlete to feel comfortable talking online to the press or whatnot. And so you're encouraging people to speak out and speak up, but then on the other hand, if they say something irresponsible, they get smacked down. Could you clarify that?
Depends on what you're speaking up and about. I don't want to hear about your sex life. I don't want to hear about your gastrointestinal problems. I do want to hear about what you think about immigration reform. I do want to hear what you think about gun reform. I do want you to hear what you think about voting rights, about equal rights, about civil rights. All that stuff, that's what we want to hear about. But you know, the nonsense and the garbage and the trash and the senseless derogatory teardowns of people, I mean, that's, you know, that's one of the sad things for me is that, I mean, I love sports, I love life, and sports talk radio has become hate radio. Has become, who can say the most negative thing about somebody else? Who can say something that's so outlandish and so crude and so rude that they'll pick it up on the internet and they'll put it out there, and all these young guys who are, you know, sitting around dazed and confused in their hotels, oh, that's really cool, let's do that too. And so the sense of making a positive contribution, to walk like a giant, and to say important things. And that's what Bill Russell did. That's what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did. That's what Muhammad Ali did. And tell you know who's really coming around is Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant is saying important, interesting, and fun stuff right now. And don't ever think that just because you make a mistake in life that it's over. Nobody has made more mistakes than I have. I'm guilty of everything. Mostly guilty of smiling on a cloudy day. And the real skill is like when you're playing basketball. You miss a shot, big deal. You get it back on the other end and you come up again. I mean, basketball, so absolutely perfect. Basketball is the perfect metaphor in life. And just think of how the terminology, and one of the things that you learn in the course of your life and education is how everything is transferable. And it doesn't matter. Nobody here is ever going to remember what year they signed the Magna Carta. Nobody here is ever going to remember what number the Emancipation Proclamation became in the Bill of Rights. No. But what you will know is how to learn and how to go find that. And that's what John Wooden taught us. That's what a librarian teaches you. That's what a great teacher teaches you, to inspire. One of the great journalists I ever had the privilege of knowing, David Halberstam. Go and read every single one of his books. He's got a great one on the media called The Powers That Be, which is the history and the founding of all the big, powerful media companies. Just incredible. His last book, The Coldest Winter. David was tireless. He was fearless. David was the first guy as a New York Times journalist in Vietnam. David